again. I hope you had a good week. I had a wonderful week. We're back in the studio today and I'm going to be making some resists. But I want to thank you so much for all your comments and your questions, and I love getting back to you. And thank you for your subscriptions and for liking our page. We really appreciate that. So we're going to get started and work on some resists right now. So resists are really simple. Resists are simply products that will resist the paint, dye, or ink that you're using. And I'm going to use walnut ink today, glimmer mist, and a little bit of paint. So a resist comes in, there are several different kinds. Probably the simplest resist that you've ever used or seen is just a crayon on white paper and then with the watercolor wash on top of it. That's a resist. So these products are all different kinds, and they have different kinds of properties. So they have different thicknesses and that kind of thing. So it's really fun to see how different they are and how they work and what they do. The first product that I want to show you is masking fluid. And masking fluid is used primarily by watercolor artists. And it becomes quite gummy when it's dried, and you can just kind of peel it off, and I'm going to show you that right now. The thing about masking fluid is that it will turn yellow. It will turn your page yellow if you leave it on there too long. So you want to take it off as soon as possible. The second product I'm going to show you is Gel Matte Medium. And the third one is Clear Gesso. And the fourth one is Gum Arabic. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So to get started, I want to show you that for all of these, I've already put them on the paper. Unfortunately, you can see it. Some of them are clear and you won't be able to see them until I actually cover them. But you're going to be able to see the masking fluid on here because it looks kind of yellowish. And I used a brush to create these, and I used a Q-tip and a needle for this one here. So I'm going to take a little bit of ink in my brush. I'm using an old brush, really old, because masking fluid and gum arabic are going to really kill brushes, so I don't mind if I have to throw it away. So I'm going to use just a little bit of ink. I'm using walnut ink, and actually we got it in an egg carton, which makes a great container for paint if you don't already use them. I really love them. And I'm just going to add a little bit more water in here, and then I'm going to put it down on the page that I've already spread with the ink. Now I'm going to show you how I did it in just a minute, but I just wanted to show you the properties of this and what it looks like. Now I did a swirl here, and so I'm just going to cover that up. And I used a brush, actually I used a brush to apply the top one, but I used a Q-tip and a Q-tip for this. And I used a needle for this one, and I'll show you that. And that was really hard. Now, I've read this suggestion online before. I've tried it before. I don't think it works really well unless you use a really big needle. But for getting the small pieces off, that's what you would do. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that you have to wait for this to dry a bit. So we're going to set it back down, and I'm going to show you what I did with the masking fluid. So masking fluid comes in a jar just like this, and what I like to do is put it in an applicator bottle and just cut the tip off. And so I'm going to show you, it's just really simple. You can buy these at art and craft supply stores, and then you can just write with it. You can make all kinds of symbols And as I said, it's a bit pricey, so you don't want to use a huge quantity. It's really not for doing large areas, it's for doing smaller things. And as soon as this gets completely dry, I'll go ahead and rub it off. And that'll probably be at the end of our video to show you that. And this is going to take a while to dry. Now, if you leave it on there any longer than 3 hours, of course, it is going to stain your paper. So you have to remember to rescue it right away. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is regular gel matte medium. Gel matte medium is a great resist. It's pretty easy to use, although as far as applying it, you're pretty limited to a brush and a palette knife, a Q-tip, a stick, or the end of your brush, and just simply swirl it on the paper, paint it. You can do all kinds of really fun things with it. I like to make the swirls and also marks, getting a little bit of the ink on there, and I didn't want to do that, curses. There we go. So it's pretty simple to use, and then you just let that dry and then you cover it over. And I have one already made for you, so we're going to use that. I like using book pages as well as just plain paper sheets. And I'm going to use a little bit of glimmer mist, and actually I'm going to use the walnut ink again on the book page so you can see it. And I'm using some freezer paper so that the ink won't go below. Now, I used a palette knife with this. So you can see it magically appear, which is pretty fun. You can see what you did. I just kind of smeared it on there. So that's with a palette knife. And this one I'll use the glimmer mist to see how that turns out. Okay, and this one I used a stencil. Now with gel medium, you don't have to lift it up like you do with the masking fluid. And that's one of the things that I really, really like about it, is that you don't have to do that. I can't remember what all I put down here. I did these earlier, preparing for your visit to the studio, dear hearts. Okay, so there you go. So that's gel medium. It's one of my favorite things to use because you have it in the studio all the time, right? So that's gel medium. We're going to move on to the next one, which is clear gesso. Clear gesso, one of the best friends you can have in the studio, I think, because it's going to seal your journal pages too, and it's also makes a great covering for your canvas, whatever you want to do. But it's also makes a great resist. So this is what it looks like when it's a resist, and it does have a rougher texture than the gel medium will create some ridges, but the clear gesso will create kind of a rougher texture, which is kind of fun too. So I'm going to show you you're going to work with it with a brush. You can work with it with a Q-tip. I'm going to use a Q-tip, and that's how I made the little dots, but you can make swirls, squiggles. You can do anything you want to with it. You could probably use a palette knife if you wanted to make some smears. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do with it. So I'm going to show you what some of the spots I made last night look like. And I think I'm going to use just a touch of black. So this is the stencil, and I had to actually mark where I had used it because I couldn't see them once I had them down here. So, and glimmer mist. There's my love again. So it's really fun because you're just making, you know, great papers in the studio and just having a really good time. So as I said, you can use a stencil to create something like this, or create this one here using the gel medium. You can use a stencil for those. You can't really use a stencil with masking fluid or the gum arabic. You're going to have to use some kind of a tool or a brush. And then the last one is on book paper, and I'm going to use walnut ink again. And I just did some plus signs and circles. So this would be great for using textiles and dyes. Really fun thing to do. Light. There we go. And that is clear gesso. Works out really well. The last one is gum arabic, and this is used in a lot of different for a lot of different art applications. But today we're going to use it as a resist, and this is what it looks like once you have put it down as the resist. And I used a Q-tip to do it rather than the brush so that I wouldn't ruin the brush. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to go back, now that it's been washed over, and put a little bit of water on the spot that you use the gum arabic, and just wipe off. It just loosens the walnut ink or the watercolor or the acrylic paint that you watered down, whatever it is that you're using, and you can just lift it off. And that's pretty much how you do it. So I'm going to use a little bit of my glimmer mist and go over the gum arabic, and you can watch it appear. And then of course we do have to wipe it off a little bit. So I'll just use a Q-tip and lift it up. And of course it's best if you wait until it's completely dry, but you get the idea. That's how you do it. So that's gum arabic, and it's really super easy to use. It's just the problem is it will kill your brush. So, and we're going to go back now, and I'm going to show you about the masking fluid. Masking fluid becomes really gummy and sticky, and so what happens is you just kind of peel it back like this and then lift it off once it's dry. Now you want to make sure that it's dry, because if it's not dry, you'll take some of the paper with you. So that's how it works. And it's used to mask off areas in paintings that you don't want to show yet. You want to do the background, so you want the foreground to show up. So you just peel it off like that, and it's pretty fun, cool stuff. I enjoy using it in the studio, and I think you will too. Now you can go back and color it in whatever color you want, or just leave it plain like that, and you have a fabulous background picture. So I'm coming back in just a minute, and we're going to tell you what we're doing next week, and I'm going to show you a finished piece with background papers using resists. I hope you enjoyed the film on Resist, and this is one of my new pieces from my show, The Naturalist Notebook. And as you can see on the side here, this is a resist that I used with gel medium. So I use them in my work, I use them in my art journaling, I use them all the time. And I hope you try the process and see what you think about it. Next week, we're going to be doing art journaling in the studio. I'm going to be actually working in my journal as I'm talking to you about some tips and techniques and maybe give you some suggestions or some prompts. So I hope to see you next week too. So ciao, ciao.